On behalf of the entire team at Scout and Scholar Brewing Company, I want to thank you all for being here today. My name is David Mandel, and I am the MC for today's event. But before we begin, let me just say we appreciate everyone taking the proper COVID-19 safety precautions. We have protective masks available if you wish to put one on, and we'll be following the appropriate social distancing guidelines today. We're here today to celebrate the creation of a truly exciting business, one that is rising from the ground right behind us. It's not only the first craft brewery and restaurant in Bardstown, Kentucky, with beers brewed on its premises, but it's also a shining example of what's possible when people who absolutely love this community come together. The Blinko, Gano, and Dones families, along with Caleb Sunderman, General Manager, Lee Northcutt, the head brewer, have a vision, and it is a beautiful one. It's now my distinct pleasure to introduce David Dones, co-founder of Scout and Scholar Brewing Company, who will tell you about the team's vision and the exciting event we have coming up on July 11th.
Thank you, everybody, and thanks everybody for coming out. Was going to do this completely off the cuff, but a lot of you know my oratory skills aren't that great. So when my wife Dana and I purchased the Settles Home Supply building a couple of years ago from the Hicks family, we had a vision of bringing something special to downtown Bardstown that we could be proud of. Being fortunate enough to have an ongoing relationship with the Blinko and the Gano families led us to be standing here in front of this beautiful building that goes beyond our wildest dreams, and we hope all of Bardstown can be proud of. Our family's combined vision for this building and business is one that is deeply rooted in the community of Bardstown, and will give back to Bardstown by adding to its rich history of hospitality, as well as giving back by helping to support our small business community partners. It is thinking about our small business community that gives me great pleasure to announce that on July 11th, Scout and Scholar Brewing Company will host a product release that will provide an opportunity to offer to the public a selection of our inaugural beers brewed on site, as well as branded items showing off our new logo that depicts William and David Bard, the founders of Bardstown. We will be contributing 100% of the proceeds from the event to the Bardstown Strong initiative, created by Samantha Brady and others to help support our small business community partners that have been affected by COVID-19. After all, Bardstown is truly strong together, and it is our hope that one day soon we'll see a return of all of our business community to full strength again. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank, of course, the Blinko and Gano families for their continued support and inspiration, our General Manager, Caleb Sunderman, for his tireless enthusiasm and dedication to help us build this business. Also, our head brewer, Lee Northcutt. His passion and understanding of his art, which is craft beer, and its protection, is the reason that we will be one of the greatest craft breweries in the region. I would also like to thank our designers, Lee Guilfoyle and Thomas Drager of Willie Martin's Designs, as well as architect David Hennen for their fantastic work that's coming together behind me here. A special thanks to David Mandel, who's worked very hard putting this day together for us. And thanks to all of you that have made today possible, including our mayor, city officials present, Kim Houston, and all of our friends at the Chamber of Commerce and Tourism. If I've forgotten anyone, I truly apologize, and I'd like to turn it back. Oh, one more person. I would like to thank Dixie Hibbs, who's also present here today, and Rashay Jennings, who's both of their drive and inspiration has really helped us shape what you see before you. So right now, let's turn it back over to David Mandel, and we'll continue with festivities. Thank you all.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Dana. It's now my pleasure to introduce our mayor, Mr. Dick Heaton. Mr. Mayor, on behalf of all of us, thank you for your tremendous leadership, especially during these very challenging times. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you, David, and David, thank you for helping me during these challenging times. You've been a part of some of the things we've done, but on behalf of the city of Bardstown, I want to congratulate the Blanco, Gano, and Dones family on this wonderful investment and new addition to our beautiful downtown. I don't know if any of you all have thought about it, but it was 10 years ago when our downtown, we had it completely tore up in the middle of a $3 million renovation that we had put together through a lot of hard work. And this kind of reminds me of what went on about that time. There was people who saw and had visions about what the opportunities were going to be once we did the streetscape renovation. And our downtown is quite different today than it was 10 years ago with all the new additions of retail and food and residential improvements that have happened over the last 10 years. So I kind of hearken today the vision that you all have. You see this opportunity. There's some risk involved, just like it was for those people who decided to plunge in and invest in downtown Bardstown 10 years ago. But it's worked out, and I think this is going to work out as well. David and I and some of our friends get together about 2 or 3 days a month on Saturday right across the street at Mammy's, and this project comes up in our discussion. And I can tell you, David has heard a lot of advice from the intelligent people that sit at our table, but I don't think he's taken any of it. Thankfully, he has used this great team to put together this wonderful project. But there is one challenge I'm going to throw out to you all today, and that is, you know, just like the Bard brothers who came to Bardstown, they had a vision, they saw potential, and they had some risk. That's what the Gano and Blanco and Dones family are doing now. But the one thing that our coffee group hasn't been able to determine is between Donald Blanco and David Dones, who is Scout and who is Scholar. That's the two Bard brothers that they're sort of emulating there. So we haven't arrived at a conclusion on that, and I'll leave that to you all today. So once again, thank you all, congratulations, and we're so proud of this new addition to our downtown. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's now my honor to introduce Kim Houston, President of Nelson County Economic Development Agency. You know, as with every great project in Bardstown, Kentucky, Kim Houston is there from the very beginning. Kim, we appreciate everything that you've done for this team and everything you do for Bardstown. Thank you.
Thank you, David. On behalf of all the economic development agencies and all of our team has gathered here, the Chamber, Main Street, Tourism, and CETA, we're thrilled to be part of this project, but we're also very thankful that you chose us. You chose us for the recipient for this money, and what we're planning to do with it is we're putting 100% of that money back into this community. We are going to help the businesses that were so affected during the COVID project, those businesses that were forced to shut down, and we're going to take this money and we're going to advertise Bardstown downtown in Nelson County like it's never been advertised before, and we're going to show people that Bardstown's back. We are open, and we will be worth your wait to come back and see us. So that's how the money is going to be spent, and we hope we're going to see a lot of people come back. You know, this brewery checks so many boxes that we have really been looking forward to for so many years. It checks a box that how many people remember what this building was? Look at this, what's happening right here. We still have part of the existing building here. We have an existing lot being refurbished, a beautiful reuse for this facility's place, for this town, and for this area here. So what a beautiful time to regrow and to rehab downtown Bardstown. It offers our local residents and our visitors a new gathering place. As you know, when you go to places, you see breweries, they are gathering hubs for downtown. So we'd like to see locals coming down here, visitors coming down, and be that gathering place for families once again. It also brings a new cool, hip vibe to Bardstown. It's one of those things, once you get a brewery, you're going to see a new demographic of people that come into your town because they generate activity at breweries, and that's something that we're real excited about seeing too. And more importantly, and I'm more thrilled than anything, that this is truly an entrepreneurial local effort with our local residents, good friends of mine that I've known for years and have heard me harp on, let's do something fun. And they took this idea and they went with it, and look what's happened here. This is a truly local initiative, and I think there's nothing like it. And despite what the mayor said, also, I have to agree with him, despite what's happening with COVID right now and all the uncertainty that's happening here, I'm proud to say that I'm seeing, and my staff will attest to this, we're seeing a new momentum. We're seeing calls coming in. We're seeing people walking back in our doors. We're seeing a lot of excitement coming back downtown. This last weekend was very, very busy here. So we know this is going to be a catalyst for even more momentum and more investment in downtown Bardstown, and we can't wait to be part of that. Guys, thank you all for your investment in Bardstown on behalf of Bardstown, and we look forward to being part of it all. Thanks.
Thank you, Kim. It's now our pleasure to invite you to tour the construction site and be some of the first to sample the incredible beer flowing from Scout and Scholar.
And our design, the reason we chose this design, of course, the Mary May House, which is right next door to us, of course, a historical building. We wanted to match that type of design. Of course, the corbels that you saw on the rendering, or you will see when we go inside, kind of closely match what you'll see there. The archways and the limestone, this is real limestone, folks. You can see them beating it out as we go here. So that's the look that we wanted to go for, to closely match, a lot of the downtown building. What's that? To look like it's been here. Yeah, to look like it's been here. We want something that's going to fit in well with the downtown decor and other buildings.
Yeah. So how much was the rest of downtown? How much did the rest of that go into the design here?
Quite a bit, quite a bit. And mainly the Mary May House and its height and the look that we have right there. We wanted to blend in well with it. We didn't want to stick out like a sore thumb and be something that looked different, next to that house. And a lot of that inspiration and design, of course, through Roche and Dixie, helped us tremendously with that. Our designers, Willie Martin and David Hennon, fell right in as a team with them. And we came up with this that was, we think it's going to be a beautiful addition to downtown. So
definitely the beer.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, wait till you try that. Thanks, Judge. Thanks. Here comes our tax dollars at work. All right, so what you're standing in here will ultimately be the beer garden. So there'll be a paved area right here with fire pits, with gas fire pits. We'll have some comfortable seating here. About maybe a third of this, and then 2/3 of it is actually going to be lawn. So there'll be like a beer garden that we're hoping to be dog friendly. It'll be completely fenced. That's going to be a really nice seating area out here. So this whole area what you're standing in here is just going to stay open with landscaping. We're going to do new fencing around the back with wrought iron and some vegetative screening for our neighbors. Hopefully we'll, obviously we want to have events here too. We want to be able to set a tent up, but we understand that we're in a neighborhood, there's this mixed residential use. So one of the things that we've considered or we're looking at is even closing earlier to try to be kinder to our neighbors, at least closing this part earlier. Because Mr. Heaton here, I think he goes to bed like at 6 p.m. So we definitely don't want to interrupt his sleep. So, but as far as the breweries are pretty benign as far as what you get from them, as far as smells and things that we've always said that what you're going to smell from this brewery is going to smell pretty good. If there is something that's coming out of here. So we're a low emissions operation. We're actually using an electric steam boiler. So that's so we're not using natural gas, something else that we had to kind of fight in our design. So any questions about this area or?
So all parking will be off street. This will all parking
will be off street. We've got additional parking in the rear. There's some city parking back there in the rear, and that's one of the concerns I think that planning and zoning and some other people that we talked about was the parking aspect of it. So we're hoping that, obviously we hope that parking lot's full. That's what we want for downtown, but it could be challenging, this area down here. So off-street parking is all we have. Yes, sir.
What's the seating capacity inside?
We're around 120, I think, with the upstairs. Of course, with COVID, we don't know when we'll ever be able to get to that point. But we do have an upstairs area, and we have seating out in the what we'll call the Solarium. We'll go into in a minute, and then the main seating inside. So around 110 to 120, I think, is what we're at, including outside, including the outside area.
Now, you did just mention the COVID and having to adhere to the guidelines there. Is there any thought of maybe sending like distribution?
There is. Actually, we've shifted our business model a bit since this has all happened, and we've actually gone ahead and purchased a canning line. Okay. So that was something that our brewer and us, we felt like was a ways down the road initially, because you don't want to get into distribution too soon. We want to be local. We want to have that local business first. Of course, with the restaurant and all, but with COVID, we've had to take a harder look at the future and what that's going to hold for us going forward, and the canning line is the first step in that direction. So if we have that ability to can and distribute, I think it's going to strengthen our position. So, and in our restaurant even, we may have to look at that also as a potential to-go service. So we may reconfigure this area and make it a drive-up or a walk-up or something like that we can offer, food products and not be able to seat inside. So we've looked at that really hard, yes. Okay, all ready to move inside? Of course, all this is glass. These three openings right here will open out to open air, so we can make the solarium kind of an open air feel if we want to. This is kind of the main entrance off that area. So this is Solarium, which is all seating. Wanted to draw your all's attention, and I've got a lot of smirks and a lot of comments about this right here, but I fought hard for this little piece of wall right here. And Rashay Jennings and Dixie, and Rashay is in love with this little piece of wall. So this is the actual piece of the original Settles building. So we cut that out and saved it just particularly to put it back in the exact same spot that we cut it from. So this is what we're going to call our story wall. So it's got the original little awning that goes over it. We're going to hang the pictures of the original Settles building, which was an old white frame house that sat on this lot. And then we'll have pictures of George's Clip Joint building. We'll have pictures of everything else that was on this lot, and kind of try to tell that story. So that's why this is here. That's why it exists. And you guys are probably smirking on your mask too, but we all like it, and I think it's going to be an interesting conversation piece, maybe like a picture, because we think that this is going to be our photo op.
Now, is this going to be open?
This will be open.
Glass?
This is all glass.
So it will be glass?
It will be glass, yes, looking into the brewery. So that's what Lee has said. He's kind of going to be in his cage in there, working and slaving away, and people will be out on the outside. But yeah, he can't wait. He's chomping at the bit. So we just lifted in all of our equipment the other day. We have 5 regular fermenters, which are 10-barrel fermenters, 2 which what are called bright tanks or finishing tanks in the back. Lee's going to use those in various ways for various different types of beers. What you see over here to the right is our brew house, which is the workhorse of the operation. And what's called the hot liquor tank next to that, which is just simply a huge hot water heater that we produce our product with. So everything that we're going to produce is going to be made right in that room. You'll have any questions?
What's the facade going to be in here?
Actually, that's an interesting question, because I'm not a designer and I didn't really understand the direction that they were going with this, but this is going to be full brick in here. And our designer's idea is that these old buildings were always added onto, and houses were always added onto. So this will look like it was the original building and a porch added onto it. So this interior will be brick. This will all be brick on the inside. And if I can show you over here at the board, give you a little bit better understanding of how we're going to do things here. What you're walking into is the tap room, or the main area of the building. As you can see, I told you about the design of the building and the corbels and arched windows and that look and feel that we wanted to try to match what's downtown and especially the decor of the Mary May building next door. The design on the gates and everything will be a little bit different. We have to change this because that's too high for HRB or for planning and zoning, so this will be a little bit different. The gates and fencing will look very similar. So as you can see, the tap room that you're standing in now, the bar, which is kind of a U-shaped bar, all the tap wall behind it, there's a stairwell that'll climb up behind the bar and level off and go and access the second level. Of course, this is the brewery production, the solarium area, the beer garden, brewery production, and this is where our public area ends, because due to ABC, you have to have a physical barrier or separation between your brewery operation and the public. So that's where this takes place right here. The rest of this is all brewery production and offices, and this is actually the original part of this building remains. So we removed the old Settles building from here forward. So, and then our upstairs, this will all be open to the tap room below. This will be viewing open to the tap room, and it's also viewing open to the brewery on the other side. That'll be a glass wall up there. That'll be open to the other side. Our brewery observation room, we've got many plans for that. You know, we can use it in a myriad of ways. I mean, we're hoping to see beer yoga. We're hoping to see, you know, parties and events and things like that we can hold up there and allow people to come in. We want brewery tap takeovers. You know, I don't know if you all have heard of those before. So we want to be partners with our regional breweries, and I believe that we've already started down that road. So mechanically, you know, all of our mechanicals and everything are upstairs and then at the back. We had some interesting things that we were doing with the HRB and trying to hide and conceal a lot of that stuff, because this lot is just like a shotgun lot. It's just narrow and long. You know, we couldn't really do a lot with our mechanicals. So took a lot of engineering, a lot of late nights standing up scratching over these pieces of paper. Any questions?
So it looks like the solarium will have seating in it there. Looks like
yes.
they're kind of longer. Then you'll have seating in here. Then you have seating up there too.
Seating upstairs, and then with the addition of the beer garden seasonally, you know, we'll have seating outside. So yeah, all your seating in public areas here, and then upstairs here, and then along with the beer garden. So I'm sorry.
How many people does it take to brew beer?
Actually, Lee says he can do it by himself. So once we get up and going, and especially if we're in distribution later on down the road and we're having to we can do up to 3 brews a day. That's a 10-barrel system, which is 320 gallons per batch. So he can do up to three brews per day. That's getting after it. But at that point, he'll have to have an assistant. You know, have someone to pull hoses, washing tanks, doing this, and you know, he stays really busy, but that's what he loves to do. So I offer help all the time. You know, we've got a pilot system that we've brewed, what you're going to sample in a little bit, back in that back area back there, and I offer my help all the time. He goes, "Come on, bro." I said, "You know, I'm good." So he takes offense, you know, almost, if you want to get in there and help, but I think that he can operate that full system probably by himself, but we will get him an assistant brewer once we pick up in production, for sure. All right, if you want to move on to are we going into I guess we're going to end up in the brew house for a tasting. I guess that's what they've got in mind for you guys, right? So this is actually a walk-in cooler. So the beer storage for the tap room will be here, and then the kitchen will be able to use a small portion of that. But in the beer, on the beer side of it, we want those taps to be as close as possible to the kegs. So that's why this walk-in cooler is here. Actually, the tap wall originally was going to be on the back side of this, so we'd have very short hoses and wouldn't have to employ another type of chilling system. But by design, you know, everybody decided that we wanted the bar to be actually out in the center of the room. Tap wall is out behind the bar, so we have a glycol system that actually cools the hoses. Glycol system will sit up on top of this cooler and keep the hoses that run out to the taps cold, so we don't lose any quality of product. 38 degrees is what we're shooting for. So
that about standard? Is that
That's about standard for craft beer. It is. So our walk-in cooler to the right here. This is our commercial kitchen. So this is Caleb Sunderman's. This is his domain. Of course, the whole thing's his domain, but this is what he's primarily focused on. We're going to have a full-service restaurant. At first, we were talking about just doing kind of bar food and just snacks and things that went along well with beer, but you know, looking at Bardstown and looking at Bardstown's needs, we decided that this would be a good addition, and so we went ahead with the full service, which made us change a little bit our layout. We have to have more prep room in the back, for instance, and I'll show you that where our temporary brewery or pilot room is set up now. That's going to be a prep room for the kitchen. So where all your vegetables will be stored. There's another walk-in back there and things like that, and cut up. Things that I don't understand about cooking, but in order to have a full-service restaurant, that was one of the things that we had to do.
Now, will it be dinner only, or will it be lunch and dinner?
Oh, it'll be lunch and dinner, yes. And we plan on being open all weekend. So we'll probably have earlier closing times on Sunday, but we're looking forward to be, you know, that weekend option. So, for sure. And as you can see, we'll have a standing bar right here, so you can kind of, if you're waiting on a table or if you just want to stand here and meet a friend, I mean, there's a standing bar. You can sit here and you're looking into the brewery. Down this hallway, of course, is still public area, ladies and men's restroom, and then the hallway behind leads to the elevator. So this is where, at this point, I was telling you, this is where the public stops and the brewery production starts. So all this back here is brewery production. We'll have our reverse osmosis machine, which all of our beer will be through RO treated water. It's the preference of our brewer. Not that our city of Bardstown water is not good enough. It is, and actually we're making beer using just city water right now. But removal of chloramines and things like that aids in the palatability of most of your beers. So that's the reason for the RO system. But this is all production area. If you all want to walk into the brewery. This is Lee Northcutt, our head brewer.
Very nice to meet all everyone.
Lee comes to us from Marker 48 Brewing in Tampa, outside of Tampa, Florida. He came highly recommended. He was a great find for us, as you'll be able to tell when you sample his beers. That's what's really going to put us on the map.
At a cream ale, 4.2%, 10 IBUs. In order to make the beer, there's 4 main ingredients. You got water, you got malt, hops, and yeast. I have some malt out here and some hops. So what I'll do, each different type of beer, you need different malts. So you have your base grain, which is, this is actually the base grain for the cream ale. Feel free to eat this, actually, and you guys can get a vibe for the actual beer itself. I'm just going to pour it into your hand. Anybody who wants a little taste? It ain't gonna hurt you. Anybody want to try the grain? I actually eat the grain as I'm writing recipes just so I can get a flavor profile of where it's going. So this is American 2-row. People will describe this as crackerish, if you will, like saltine crackers without the salt. So that's the base grain is the majority of everything I use, like more than likely 80% of all beer. You then go into the realm of what they call killed grains. Just like a roastery does roast their coffee to get specific flavors, grain does the exact same thing. So here I have a caramel malt, and then it gets a little pale chocolate, more bitter chocolate characteristics. Then you got hops. So how I brew the beer, I'll start with the hot liquor tank. My goal as a brewer is to convert the starch of the grain to sugar water called wort. I don't actually create beer, I create the wort itself. How I do that is adding a specific amount of grain under a specific temperature in order to extract said sugar from the starch. So I'll add the grain, this is my mash tun right here. I'll add the grain, a specific amount of water, keep it at a specific temperature until I've extracted those grains. Normally that takes anywhere between 60 and 75 minutes. I will then go from the mash tun into the kettle. The kettle is right here. This is where I will have all the wort or the sugar water. I will boil it for a specific amount of time. I will add hops to gain a certain bitterness that I would like. And the hops are there if anybody wants to smell them. Sorry, brother. Anybody wants to take a whiff? Anybody? So my goal as a brewer is not only to create the wort that I spoke of, it's also to set the yeast up to succeed. The yeast is actually what creates the ethanol. In order to do that, each yeast has its own perfect pitch rate. So I will go from the kettle here, I will go through a heat exchanger, push it into a fermenter, add the yeast, and that's what actually creates the ethanol itself. So it's my first tour with a mask, y'all. This is serious stuff. After it's done fermentation, and it can go anywhere from, like I said, 10 days to 6 weeks, depending on the style, I will push it then into a bright tank. There we get it at a lower temperature where we can actually inject CO2 into it and carb it up. And then I keg it, and then hopefully you guys drink all of it, and then I can brew more. So that's the goal. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
How many gallons are you using?
It's going to be approximately 300-ish. So, and you get per tank.
Per tank?
Yeah. So.
How do you maintain the same taste time after time when it's
I mean, really, the repeatability is just the same process over and over. So if I dial in, say, the cream ale, I've brewed it 3 times, and they've been very similar each time, but it's about extracting the same amount of sugar every time you brew, adding the same amount of water, cleaning too. The majority of my job is cleaning and paperwork, and then I get to brew like 10% of the time. So, but to answer your question, it's just to be consistent, you have to have consistent practices.